Jerry Nadler keeps embarrassing himself. Check it out.
Mrs. O'Connor, there is no law that will bring back your husband. I just wish you were part of a serious effort on the part of Republicans instead of pure political theater designed to fit a false narrative about Democrats.
During a House hearing focused on victims of violent crime, Nadler tried to gaslight a witness who lost her husband simply because Republicans invited her to testify. But Jim Jordan pushed back, playing a video that exposed Jerry's entire narrative. And today, we're breaking it all down. So let's jump right into it.
Majorities insisted that we go to Philadelphia, the fourth stop in a tour of cities that Republicans have selected as they try to distract from the fact that they have no meaningful solutions to make our country safer. Instead, they have repeatedly focused committee activities on vilifying immigrants, dismantling common sense gun laws, and pursuing wild conspiracy theories for which they have found no evidence. While I am always pleased to visit the great city of Philadelphia, and I have no doubt that we will learn a lot, our time would be better spent again back in D.C., passing bills that can help support Philadelphia and all our communities to be safer places for every American. Mrs. O'Connor, there is no law that will bring back your husband. Mr. and Mrs. Fitzgerald, there is no grant program that will ever bring back your son. But I believe we do have solutions to prevent gun violence, including gun violence against law enforcement officers like your loved ones. I just wish you were part of a serious effort on the part of Republicans to find bipartisan solutions to the challenges we face with violent crime instead of pure political theater designed to fit a false narrative about Democrats.
Now, can you believe that? He opened by pretending to acknowledge their loss, then immediately pivoted into a gun control argument, completely missing the whole point of the hearing. If we look into O'Connor's case, for example, he was killed when serving a warrant on gang members in Philadelphia. And these were not first-time offenders. They had prior arrests and were even listed among the city's, quote, worst violent offenders. And get this, according to a DOJ press release, the progressive DA failed to act despite, quote, arrests and multiple parole violations. It should also go without saying that the firearm involved was not legally purchased, since they would never have passed the background check in the first place. Jim Jordan was sure to point all those out. And the best part was that Nadler was sitting right next to him, watching his entire narrative fall apart.
We can see by who the Democrats invited to appear as witnesses at this morning's hearing that they will once again try to blame the guns instead of the people who use them to commit the crime. As we can see here in Philadelphia, when you don't enforce gun laws already on the books, new ones will have zero impact on the problem. But Larry Krasner did not take all the blame for the crime gripping Philadelphia. Before Philadelphia's 2023 mayoral election, the city council and the mayor caved to the far-left movement and demanded to defund the police. For example, in June of 2020, the city council approved a $33.3 million reduction to the Philadelphia Police Department budget with a commitment to reinvest the money in other areas of the community. With this move, Philadelphia joined other liberal-run cities like New York, Los Angeles, Austin, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Hartford, Seattle. In each of these cities, after drastically cutting police spending, crime rates continue to rise. Go figure. It is a recipe for disaster that this committee has been seen repeatedly in Democrat-run cities. Soft on crime prosecutors, mixed with elected leadership defunding the police, lead to disastrous consequences for the citizens they took the oath to serve.
Look, it's really not rocket science here. When you take a soft on crime approach, public safety tends to suffer. When laws are enforced and repeat offenders face consequences, neighborhoods become safer and communities are better off. The thing is, many of these people pushing these policies are surrounded by private security and protections most ordinary Americans don't have. In other words, they are largely shielded from the consequences of the ideas they promote. Jim went on to back up his argument with statistics showing things were not nearly as rosy as some were claiming, and that the situation was moving in the wrong direction. Now, we'll play that right after a message from today's sponsor. Now, Saga Metals is one of those stories that keeps getting bigger, and they just added another major chapter. Less than 48 hours ago, the company released results that suggest the Radar project could host one of the largest titanium and vanadium systems on the planet. Trading as SAGMF in the US and Saga in Canada, this is a major development. Now, to understand the scale, compared to the Penshishua deposit in China, a state-backed operation that supplies more than 40% of global vanadium production and sits at the center of a multi-billion-dollar industry. Combined, the titanium and vanadium markets generate more than $50 billion annually. Now enter Saga with their radar project. Now, based on current data, the project appears to rival and potentially exceed the scale of the Chinese system. If future work continues to support these findings, Saga could be developing one of the largest known titanium-vanadium intrusive systems on the planet. And that changes the conversation from just an exploration story to an increasingly strategic supply chain one. And at the continental level. Now, titanium remains a critical defense metal used in things like fighter jets, advanced radar systems, and next-generation naval technology. Governments across North America are already committing billions of dollars to secure domestic critical mineral supply chains and reduce dependence on foreign sources. That puts projects like radar directly into focus. With strong results, government backing, and an ambitious exploration program, momentum around Saga continues to build. So, if you want to learn more about the story, check the link in the description. Now, back to the video.
Manhattan, Chicago, Washington, and Philadelphia have violent crime problems. But this is not the only thing they have in common. They all have soft-on-crime prosecutors who favor the criminals over the victims and their families. Since the current district attorney for Philadelphia, Larry Krasner, began his tenure in 2018, violent crime, particularly homicides, have increased, with crime rates reaching a peak in 2021. Philadelphia crime occurs so frequently and so drastically that there is a Twitter account, Philly Crime Update, to maintain a running database of the public, to be informed of major crimes throughout the city in real time. Over the past year, property crimes, including retail theft and carjackings, have risen by more than 15% compared to last year. Retail theft has skyrocketed by almost 28%, while vehicles have increased by 72%, although District Attorney Krasner blames this number on flaws in the cars themselves instead of the criminals. Go figure.
Now, that's only fair because it comes from the same crowd that blames guns for gun violence instead of the people pulling the trigger. By that logic, these objects somehow act on their own and commit crimes without anyone behind them. But if you step back and look at the bigger picture, the consequences go far beyond public safety. As businesses start packing up and moving to places where common sense guides decision-making. I mean, just look at places like Seattle, Portland, Oakland, San Francisco. All had been led by progressives who put ideology over doing what's good for their residents. Now, Jim wrapped things up with a clip that summed up everything we've been talking about. Take a look.
I want to thank all the men and women in law enforcement who work tirelessly to keep this city safe. 3 of the witnesses this morning include loved ones of police officers who tragically lost their lives while serving and protecting their communities. And with that, I would like to, we're going to play a quick video. We're going to play a quick video.
Violent weekend across the city of Philadelphia. Multiple people shot again. No idea as to how many.
A 9-year-old girl is recovering after being shot outside of
McDonald's. More than a half dozen people have become victims of gunfire in less than 24 hours.
Victoria National News is the rampant gun violence across the city of Philadelphia.
7 people were shot in just a short period this weekend. 5 of them have died.
A string of rifle-point carjackings.
A sheer panic during a shooting at an event marking the end of Ramadan.
Philadelphia's drug crisis growing worse by the minute.
A string of sexual assaults in Philadelphia.
Gunshots have become the soundtrack of many lives in West Philadelphia.
13 people shot in the city since just yesterday morning.
There have been at least 76 homicides this year.
I felt like everywhere is not safe anymore.
All my years of living in Philadelphia, I've never seen nothing like this.
Now, I'm sure Nadler would say all of this is tragic, but it should be used to put more restrictions on guns. At least if he pretended to care, more people would take his arguments seriously. But the fact that he came out with pure gaslighting for families whose losses could have been prevented says everything you need to know about him. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, keep thinking.